Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm gonna do my dishes as I do often on this channel. I hope you're doing your dishes. And I figure, hey, what the heck? I might as well talk about something that's been banging around in my head. Um, I don't ever want this channel to turn into like an incestuous like idea bubble, right? Like I definitely do think and I respect the idea of challenging ideas and moreover finding inroads with your ideological enemies, right? My ideological enemy, without a doubt, are conservative capitalists. I mean, my true ideological enemy are fascists, 100%. Like, if you're a fascist, I hope you die, literally. Like, I'm not pretending about that. But if you are a capitalist conservative, you and I don't see eye to eye on pretty much anything, I think. And I don't think that it is healthy to just shrug and say that person's an idiot and uh, move on in an ideological bubble. And so I like to directly address, and I hope that conservatives see this video, and I hope that people share this with conservatives so that we can attempt to find a middle ground. Because my perspective is that the major discrepancy that exists between my position and conservative position is that the lived reality of a conservative is strongly different than the lived reality of a non-conservative or of a leftist or of a communist, such as myself. Let me be very clear. I am a communist. I defend communism. I will defend communism, and I will continue to defend communism because I think communism is ideologically and morally superior than capitalism. But if you're a conservative, right, you are experiencing the world uh, in a way that I am not, without a doubt. Like, let's use sort of the stereotypical conservative, the stereotypical version, right? Which means that if you're watching this, chances are good you're 70, right? Chances are good you're of that boomer generation, let's say, right? Uh, and that ideological divide is another one that I think is worth talking about, another one that is worth communicating about, that there's this generational divide that exists that can be seen very clearly, right? Like in elections, people who are over the age of 65 vote conservative more, way more than people who are under the age of 65. And this lived reality of the boomer generation, of these boomer conservatives, right? It does make sense that you would believe in the system that created the wealth that you are enjoying, right? Because the capital, it seems to a conservative, a boomer conservative, that capitalism is responsible for the creation of all this wealth. But I'm I am of the opinion that it was not capitalism that created the circumstances for your wealth. It was something that has been eliminated from history and from our social consciousness, right? Which is the strong efforts of unions, socialists, and communists operating to move the populace and to move the culture in a direction of improvement. So if you are 70 right now, right? If you're a boomer and you're like 70, 68, like in that ballpark, that means that you were 20 in 1960. I hope I got that math correct. Yeah? You're 70 now. So in 2000, you were 50. So 30 years back, right from that, you're in the 70s, 1970, right? You're 20. You're really entering the workforce, 1970. around there. So 65, 75, around that time. So in this moment, when you are entering the workforce as a boomer in the boomer generation, right? You are entering a workforce where your parents fought heavily. First of all, in a world war, right? Like a world war, went through the Great Depression, fought literal fascists and Nazis to death, right? And then when they came home, struggled on the streets and fought against the capitalist class in order to improve the society, create unions, force their politicians to pass heavy legislation, raise heavy taxes, right? That the boomers ostensibly benefit from, right? The parents of the boomers are the reason why the boomers were able to go into a workforce that was so ripe for them. You were literally like, boomers still say to me today, conservative boomers still say to me, oh, just go and shake that guy's hand. Just look him in the eye. I really don't want to be mean when I say this, but that's a joke. No one under the age of 40 takes that seriously. Like that's a significant, like that's almost an insult to us, because it's so, like, I don't want to insult you and say childish, but it really does have that kind of tone about it. Like, we cannot do that, because the economy that we live in, that I live in today, is strictly different from the economy that you grow up in. Hence the discrepancy, right? When you were growing up, there were strong union movements, and moreover, taxes were way higher on the wealthy. Taxes were like 90% on the wealthy, right? So what this means is that if taxes are 90% on the wealthy, it means that wealth can't be hoarded, that it must be shared, right? You might as well pay your workers better. You might as well invest your money in this and that and the other thing. You might as well give your money away, because the government's going to tax it away anyway. And so the wealth spreads around more easily throughout the 60s and 70s. If you're attempting to get a job in the 60s and 70s, there's so much money just flying around that, yeah, you can just walk up to a dude and shake his hand and he'll take a look at you and throw you against some kind of thing, because there's so much money flying around the society. Everybody has access to it. And the hoarding doesn't exist. There's no hoarding. The government taxes that money away. If you attempt to hoard through the 60s and 70s, the money vanishes in your fingers, right? And it's not until the 80s, okay? So the 80s, you're 40 now. So you're well established in the industry by now, right? If you're 40. You've been working in this industry where money flies all over the place. And let's be real clear. The starting wage for a boomer in the economy, they'll say this all the time. I was paid $6. I shouldn't do the impression. I'm trying to be nice. I am. I'm trying to be nice. I just get carried away and I'm sorry. But that you will. Conservatives will say, boomer conservative types will say, I was paid $6 an hour and worked in a mailroom and worked my way up. That kind of thing, right? Okay, but you're not accounting, like, and you look and you say, and you're being paid $15 an hour. You're way ahead of me. But the moment, you got to account for inflation in this, right? You got to, like, the value of the currency has changed. Again, there's a discrepancy in the way that we see the world and view the world, right? Once you account for inflation, the $6 that you earned in that mailroom was actually $19 an hour today. That's actually more than I'm making right now, and I'm the assistant manager of a multi-million-dollar store, right? I'm not in a mailroom. I'm not sorting mail, right? I'm assisting in organizing a $1 million organization. and you got paid more than me once you realize how much your money was actually valued, how much it actually was worth, because the currency has been devalued throughout this period that I'm about to talk about now. The 80s. The 80s is like a seminal moment, okay? This is the dividing moment. And this is the moment that like the Gen Xers come along and they understand that they've been screwed, right? You just take a look at their art. They understand that they've been completely screwed. NAFTA, right? The free trade agreement that came through because of Reagan, Thatcher, Mulroney here in Canada, absolutely destroyed this economy that the boomers grew up in, right? And like the boomers literally don't notice it happens because they're standing on top of the explosion and are shielded from it, right? They're so entrenched in the industry. They're so entrenched in what has happened previously, right? And they're so protected by unions. They're so protected by the forces that their parents fought to put in place that they don't even notice what is happening, right? If you're one of these conservative types that says, like, just go get a job, well, look, the manufacturing base was destroyed in this country, right? Manufacturing jobs are gone. When you were growing up, were you competing with Chinese laborers? Because I am, right? Were you competing with Indian workers? Because I am, right? You weren't. I guarantee it. How do I know? Because you weren't. You literally weren't. The manufacturing jobs that were done through America were the backbone of the middle class economy, and those jobs are gone. And so to say to someone, "Oh, just go get a job," is cruelty, and you have to know that. Like I can't understand how at this stage in the game, as even a conservative, you don't understand that just telling somebody to go get a job isn't just a dismissal and just incredibly cruel. That's why the millennials and the Gen Z, why your grandchildren are saying "okay, boomer," because it's the same thing. Get a job, okay, boomer, right? That's what's happening. It's the same energy. It's the same dismissal. They're literally just absorbing your apathetic dismissal of their lived reality and throwing it right back at you. And the response is, "Oh, it's so disrespectful." We agree. We agree. Because the economy that the boomers grew up in is gone. Mathematically, factually. It's literally gone. And the boomers love to say that, like, "Oh, millennials are just lazy." According to the Bank of Canada, the Government of Canada, the Prime Minister's office, the Conservative Party, the millennial generation is the most productive generation in the history of the nation. We've never been more productive. We've never worked harder. We've never produced more. And we are paid less than the boomers by a large margin. There's even new information out now that shows that when, at my age, right, when boomers were my age, or even younger than my age, they owned 25% of the assets in the nation. The millennials own 0.05%. The economy has changed. The economy is different, right? And I'm trying really hard to be nice to conservatives here, and I'm trying really nice to extend an olive branch, but it does cut both ways. And if the conservatives are just going to ignore it, then don't be too surprised when you get ignored back. Anyway, this is the end of me. This is the end of this video. I want to spread this one around. Like, share, subscribe. Hit all the buttons, hit all the whistles. Love your neighbors. Hug each other. Kiss a duck. High five a monkey. Do anything that makes you happy. Show this to a conservative. I love you all. Goodbye.